It is the draft. Before the draft, initiate the Mega Mock. Our NFL draft experts, all four of them, are war room ready, eager to select their superstar squads of the nation's hottest prospects. This is First Draft, and it starts right now. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to a First Draft podcast unlike any other. For those of you watching along with us, take a look at the squad. We have got the entire brain trust put together one time and one time only during this season for our Mega Mock. As we are 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, this is a fabulous show, and here's the way it's going to work for those of you who are new to the program. You always see young fielding. You always see the legendary Mel Kiper. Today we have added both Matt Miller and Jordyn Reid. And all four of them are going to pick their own super teams today. They are each going to select their squad based upon the players who are eligible to be drafted in Pittsburgh in a couple of weeks. Let me show you exactly what it is we're talking about. This is how we're going to structure the squads. Each expert will have one quarterback, one running back. Two receivers, could include a tight end. One offensive tackle, one interior offensive lineman. Two D linemen, linebackers, or edge rushers. And two defensive backs, which could include corners or safeties. And remember, the safeties look exceptional in all of this. Without further ado, we're going to get it to begin. Mel Kiper, I'll just give you the first comment as the man who invented the draft. Would you have ever imagined back in the late 70s, early 80s, when you were sitting there on that set with Bob Lee and no one even knew it was on TV yet, that we would someday be sitting here doing a podcast like this Mega Mock with this extraordinary collection of talent?
Yeah, it's exceptional because guess what? I'm the only one that was back then, and these guys weren't even thought about yet. They weren't even born yet, so they don't even know what the draft was. They had to be educated along the way, guys, and we're still trying to figure it out. So, no, I could have never imagined, to answer your question, could have never imagined that. But I've always said that the one thing I was right on, made a lot of mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes in evaluations. One thing I did believe in was that there would be an NFL draft at some point in time would be more popular than anything in sports television, and we're just about there as we speak right now.
Two things, Mel. You got two things right. The NFL draft, your lovely wife, Kim, whose birthday's coming up, by the way. Big birthday, just a couple weeks away here.
She shares her birthday with some other draft analyst. Not sure who that is, but Kim and young fielding, April 23rd. How about that?
Just a couple years apart as well. Kim is aging much more gracefully than I am somehow. But you got two things right, Mel. I just wanted to make sure America was reminded of that.
Exactly.
It is the night of the draft. And, guys, in case you're not aware, Field will have his first legal beer after the first picks on that night when he celebrates his birthday.
Of the variety and brand you want me to drink.
On April 23rd. Okay, Matt Miller, you are going to be the first to make our selection. The order of draft will go Matt, and then Mel, and then Jordyn, and then Field, and then it will snake. So then we will have Field picking twice at 4 and 5, then Jordyn, then Mel, then Matt, and on we go. So the chime has been sounded. The commissioner, that's me, has put everything into play. And Matt Miller, the honor of the first pick in today's Mega Mock goes to you.
I think I got the first pick because I won last year. If I remember right, that was the rule. So I will gladly take my title as winning last year. I think that's 2 years in a row. But it's good to be back with the crew doing this. I think this is the easiest decision in the entire Mega Mock because you have to build your team based on these core positions. And I try to look at the positions that have strength, that have depth and weight on those positions. Well, this year there is no strength or depth at quarterback. So it is very easy at the top. I'm taking Indiana's Fernando Mendoza with the first pick, just like he will be on April 23rd as we're celebrating Kim and Field and a little thing called the NFL draft. Mendoza's the best quarterback in this class. I've compared him to Joe Burrow because of his accuracy, his poise in the pocket, the way he sees and scans the field. And I love the catchability with which he throws the ball. And I think his mobility has honestly been a little bit underrated because we've talked so much about his processing ability, what he does from the shoulders up. Mendoza is a great captain for Team Miller. I'm pretty excited to have him as the first pick, guys.
Yeah, that seemed like it was going to be obvious, and it's equally obvious the Raiders are going to do it because of the position he plays. Let me ask the question just to the entire group before we move forward. Would anyone in this conversation not have taken Mendoza number one?
There was only one other player that I considered, and he was considered for posterity's sake, Greeny, not because I would have actually taken that player. Yes, I would have taken Fernando Mendoza. It wasn't much to think about for me.
Jordyn, you looked like you were going to say something there. It is the difference between the first quarterback and the second quarterback, and the positional significance is obviously what separates Mendoza. Is he the best player, though, Jordyn, in your opinion? Is he the best NFL prospect in this class?
Well, he's not the best prospect for me in this class. That would go to Jeremiyah Love out of Notre Dame. But when we're just specifically talking about the quarterback position, I think Fernando Mendoza is far and away the best quarterback in this class. And Matt hit the nail on the head as far as what he brings to the table. 6'5", 236 pounds. He has a huge frame. He can throw from inside of the pocket. He can play from different platforms as well. But the one thing that really stands out to me about Fernando Mendoza and why I think he's the clear cut #1 quarterback in this year's class is just the resiliency. Just think of all the big moments that he was able to overcome during this year's season. The last drive against Penn State in the fourth quarter, the big hit against Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, and then he goes on to win the national title game after taking multiple big hits in that game against Miami. So just the moments of resiliency that he was able to overcome, that's why his resume is so clean in this year's class.
Okay, so not a lot of mystery here, and there won't be a lot of mystery in a couple of weeks in Pittsburgh. Mendoza will go 1. But then #2 is where all the intrigue starts. In 2 weeks, it'll be the Jets on the clock. Right now, it's Mel Kiper Jr. Mel, who are you taking?
I'm going to take Arch Manning, quarterback, Texas Longhorns.
That's great.
That's next year. What am I wearing here, guys? I got my Fighting Irish, my Notre Dame attire for a reason. I was hoping to get Jeremiyah Love or Jordyn Price. Matt made it easy. He did the obvious. He took Fernando Mendoza. Hey, Fernando Mendoza deserves to be the #1 pick overall. He's the best player in this draft. A close second is Jeremiyah Love. My guy from Notre Dame say, why is Kiper taking a running back? Because look what he does, running the football. He is outstanding, game breaker. All those runs, 25, 30-plus yards over the last 2 years. Ton of catches out of the backfield. You can line him up slot wide. I've always said, the reason why he's rated this high is because of his ability as a receiver and the fact he's so dependable and reliable. The kid never fumbles the football. That was the issue with Jordyn Price, his teammate at Notre Dame. No issue at all with Jeremiyah Love. So to me, Jordan said it. I think Matt has him 1. Fielding's got him whipped there. I have him a close second. Jeremiyah Love, because there is a drop-off down to Jordyn Price, the #2 running back, who has a late first, early second round grade, in my opinion. And here you're getting a guy at the top of the board. So there's no question. Matt said it was easy for Fernando Mendoza. It's just as easy taking Jeremiyah Love here for me.
All right, we got a lot of glamour at the top of the board. The quarterback, the running back. Jordyn, you're up next. Who's the 3rd pick in this mega mock?
So I'm going to go with Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State. I think this is an easy pick for me. Even though the position is deep, I'm going to go ahead and take who I think is the 2nd best player in this year's class. I mean, Caleb Downs brings everything to the table, the intelligence, the sure tackling ability. He can play from on top of the roof. He can play in the slot. He can play in the nickel. You can use him as a blitzer as well. Another player that was a one-time transfer, but it's very rare to see a player have this type of success at 2 blue blood programs. He was able to have success early on at Alabama, and then he transitions to Ohio State. I think he's the type of player that can be a green dot wearer as a safety on the next level. And everybody likes to talk about he's not Kyle Hamilton, he's not Derwin James, or some of these quote-unquote generational safeties that we have seen over time, but I think his intelligence puts him in that same tier as some of those top-end safeties that we have seen in years past. So I'm going to go with Caleb Downs, who I think is the 2nd best player in this year's class.
All right, and our mega mock here, the first of the Ohio State players to go off the board. We'll see how many of them wind up getting drafted before him when we actually get to the draft in a couple of weeks. All right, Young Fielding, you got back-to-back picks here at 4 and 5. Take it away.
I'm going to make them green. I just want to remind people as well, Jordyn, because he's taking a safety, does not need to take a corner later on in the exercise. He could have a world in which he takes 2 safeties. It's just 2 defensive backs total. I'm making that note. Because of this class and because there are not that many players who are truly blue chippers, I am going to go with a blue chipper even at a position where there is great depth. So I will go with Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State, at #4. Styles is a guy that everybody knows by now, not just because of his tremendous combine this past February, but also his remarkable play this past season. Sonny Styles has shape-shifted more than any other prospect in the class over the past 4 years of football. He began his Ohio State career as a safety. He might have been the biggest safety in the history of football when he was playing safety for the Buckeyes. In 2024, he moved to linebacker, but he was asked to pass rush much more. He had 6 sacks in 2024. In 2025, you didn't see the same sack production, just the 1 sack. He wasn't asked to rush as much. Arvell Reese was more responsible to rush the passer than some of the other difference makers Ohio State had. But in 2024, if there was an area of vulnerability for Sonny Styles' game, it was his tackling. 17 missed tackles in 2024. He reduced that number down to 2 in 2025. he became one of the most reliable tacklers in the entire college football world last season. On top of the play, you get the intangibles, you get the leadership, you get the versatility. Sonny Styles is my pick at number 4. At number 5, because I'm not going to pick again for a while, I am going to take a player that I believe at his natural position is an island relative to the other players in this class. So I'm going to take Vanga Ioane, the guard from Penn State. Again, we have to take one interior offensive lineman. Now, some of my colleagues may project an offensive tackle to move in to play at guard. I'm okay with that, but Vanga Ioane at Penn State this past season, really the past 2 seasons, has been downright dominant. He hasn't been called for a holding penalty since around Halloween of 2023. You want to find sacks against Vanga Ioane? It doesn't happen. He's powerful, he's athletic. During a very disappointing season for Penn State last year, one guy who was dominant from start to finish was Vanga Ioane. He can get his hands on you in the running game and absolutely maul. They used him in this sort of unique way as an offensive lineman who was sometimes lined up in like a wing alignment where you'd often see a tight end at Penn State. That's a testament to his athletic ability. To me, the clear-cut best guard, true guard in this class. So he is my interior offensive lineman, having already added one linebacker / defensive lineman.
Yeah, he has been described one place that I saw as being a fortress, and I can't think of a better way.
What a great name.
A better way you could describe an offensive lineman than that. His first name is actually Olaiva Vanga Ioane, but everyone calls him Vanga for
We'll leave that one to the pro.
the obvious reasons. Yeah. Okay, so Fields got the back-to-back picks. Jordyn, we are back to you for the 6th pick in this mega mock.
Well, Greeny, the best GMs are always able to read the board very cleanly. So we see Olaiva Vanga Ioane go very early, much earlier than we thought. So we saw the fighting Mel Kipers behind us. They potentially could take this player. So I'm going to go with, we're bending the rules a little bit here, but that's okay. I'm going to go with Spencer Fano, the offensive lineman out of Utah, just because interior offensive line is one of the weaker positions in this year's class, but Fano is a player that can play all 5 spots up front. I think he can play center, he can play guard, he can play tackle. He's primarily played tackle during his career at Utah, but he's such a great athlete. He has really good feet, strong hands as well. I thought it was really interesting that a lot of NFL teams requested him to play center at the Combine. So there is a mixture as far as where teams view him on the next level. He does lack a little bit of length at the position, so some teams do project him more so inside at center and guard, which is where we're going to stick him at right here. And we're going to snipe the fighting Mel Kipers here just because I don't believe he would have lasted on the board to our next pick at number 11 overall.
So I'm clear, you're taking him as your interior offensive lineman, right? You're taking him as a guard, which is what he does project to on the next level. I think most people view it that way, even though he was a tackle in college.
This is great. First day of training camp at Team Reid. We got to teach you guys to play in this
coming out of Mel right now.
Yeah, Mel's mad.
I can see the smoke coming out of Mel Kiper's ears right now.
All right, Mel, you didn't get Fano. Who's next?
Jordyn, I give you a pick, and this is what you do to me, pal. I mean, come on. I was talking too much. This is Greeny. This is what you get in trouble when you have little dinners and lunches and these pre-game little chit-chats, right? I was talking about Fano. Jordyn interrupted, and he was listening in, so he stole my player. That's fine, because guess what? All bets are off now. You're always moving guys around. I got some guys that tackle. I can move inside the guard as well. So I'm going to go with, what do I always say, Field? What does a weapon equal? What's a weapon equal? It equals winning, right? Weapon equals winning, right? I got a weapon in Jeremiyah Love, right? I'm going to take another weapon in Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. I'm going to load up on guys that these guys will never have a defense able to handle my offense. When I got Love and Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq is that weapon. He is a rare talent. Very young, but developing. But guess what? He's got a football IQ. Somebody's 30 years old, has been in the NFL for a while. That's what he impressed people with. You see the great catches that he made. You see the run after catch ability. You see the blocking, which will not be a liability. It will be a plus factor in the NFL as well. Well-rounded football player. Best football still ahead. Like I said, when he went into those interviews at the Combine, he wowed everybody over with his football intelligence. Now, quickly, he picks things up, and he will be a guy, will be a huge asset to whatever team gets him very early, I think, within the top 14 picks, 15 picks come April 23rd.
Mel, were people more impressed by his intelligence or that he ran a 4.39 at the 40? Which of those two things do you think drives him up the board?
Hey, how about this, Greeny? Rare talent and rare intelligence. Like, how about that? That was impressive. When you get people saying that about a kid and it's overriding the skill set and saying how smart he was, and boy, he came in and he just, like I said, he did everything in fashion, like snap your fingers, he had an answer. And that was, I think, what impressed people to say, okay, like I said, I had him in Kansas City when we did our little rotating mock. I think this is a kid, one of the best overall talents in this draft. I love when I hear rare talent. Like I said, weapon equals winning. I got two of them in Jeremiyah Love and Kenyon Sadiq.
Okay, Mel off to a great start. And we got Matt Miller now with back-to-back picks. We are at that curve of the snake.
Yeah.
So, Matt, take it away, starting at number 8.
I had a lot of time to think about how I was going to beat the guys with the next 2 picks. And I think one thing that you can do when you're at the turn is to try to build a strength. And again, to look at where positional value is at, which positions are going to get wiped out pretty quickly. I already have the best quarterback in the draft, so I'm going to take the best wide receiver in the draft to go alongside with him. Now, here's where I'm different than the guys. I actually think USC's Makai Lemon is the best wide receiver in the draft. So I'm going to take the Amon-Ra St. Brown clone out of USC to pair him with Fernando Mendoza. He's great in the yards after catch game, the middle of the field game. He sees everything so well. He runs with power to create forced missed tackles, but he's fast enough to make guys miss in space. So Lemon as my first pick coming up the board here. But why not just take this and really turn it into a strength? I think we could wait on edge rushers and offensive tackles because that's where the depth of this class is at. So I'm going to throw a wrench in everyone else's plans here. Sometimes, that's the best defense is a good offense. I'm going to take Carnell Tate, the wide receiver from Ohio State as well, and just wipe out the top of the wide receiver board and build an offense. Mel was talking about an offense no defense can stop. When you have the best quarterback and the 2 top wide receivers, I think that's another way to do it. Tate's a great route runner. He separates so well with timing and nuance and agility, and he doesn't drop the ball. So these 2 receivers that I have now, neither player drops the ball. Tate had just 1 last year. He's great in the red area, and these 2, I think, play off each other really, really well. Tate has a little better size, I think a little better vertical speed. Lemon more that underneath route runner who can create with the ball in his hands. Guys, I don't know how you're stopping this offense. It just doesn't happen. Not in this draft class. There's not the defenders don't exist to stop this offense.
Yeah,
okay.
The problem is I'm your offensive lineman right now, Matt. So we do have a problem with
That's
this
right,
offense.
Field. We got time. We got time, buddy.
Okay, I like the strategy. See, this is what's interesting to me. This mock is totally different from any others because there's a different kind of strategy that's being employed.
Yeah.
So that was both an offensive, they were offensive players, but it was also a defensive pick to block the star receiver from going anywhere else. All right, Mel, it spins back to you at number 10.
I'll tell you, whatever my quarterback I end up with is going to have an easy time of it, boy. It's going to be like picking people apart, boy. And they take my choices, boy. It's going to be fun playing quarterback for my team because guess what? Matt was talking about Makai Lemon, love the kid. Fielding knows that.
Yep.
Think about, Carnell Tate, polished, catches everything. But the wide receiver 1 on talent, guys, isn't Lemon and Tate. It's Jordyn Tyson. And Jordyn Tyson, they say, well, he's got a hamstring. Well, he tried to play through one hamstring and injured the other because he's such a great competitor. We talk about how strong he is, how fast. He's not going to run a 40, but we know he's a 4.4 guy. We know he's a beast after the catch. We know he can beat you in any which way playing that wide receiver position. We know he had been healthy throughout the process, had been wide receiver 1. He had a hamstring. He's coming back from that. Jordyn Tyson is my pick. You talk about a weapon with Sadiq and Love. How are you going to handle my team? I got Dan Fouts as a 4th-round pick playing with those great players with the Chargers, right? I got a team like Kurt Warner, right? Greatest offense on turf, right? To me, I got a team that is going to be uncoverable, unstoppable, and going to have you guys figuring out, you better start picking some defensive players who can get after my quarterback, because if you can't, you got no shot. So for me, to have Jeremiyah Love, Kenyon Sadiq, and now Jordyn Tyson, all I got is 2 words for everybody on this call right now, on this show right now. Good luck.
Wasn't the 2 I was thinking of. Hey, 2 out of 10 picks on defense so far. Wow.
And we got a run on wide receivers going here. We got Lemon, Tate, and Tyson going in consecutive order. Brings us to 11. Jordyn, the next pick is yours.
Yeah, the wide receiver train is going to continue here. I have to hurry up and pick one because the board is getting a little bit thin. But I'm going to go with Casey Concepcion, the Texas A&M wide receiver here, just because we need a target to throw to, just because we don't have any out there right now. Casey Concepcion, I think he's one of the better players overall at the position, just because he's so explosive. He can give you return value. And then also, I think he's so explosive and dynamic in different assets, different areas of the field as well. 11 touchdowns a season ago. You can play him in so many different spots. We're going to continue that receiver train here just because we need somebody out on the perimeter. If he can figure out the drop issues, which I think is more so from a concentration standpoint, I think he has a chance to be one of the better overall targets that we see go in the first round. So we go with Casey Concepcion here, and we're really happy about it.
Yeah, we don't have special teams represented per se in this draft, but obviously that's a huge part of what he brings with his punt return ability. All right, and so we get back to the turn of the snake here, and Field Yates, Young Fielding, has back-to-back picks beginning at number 12.
Yeah, a couple of these teams, Greeny, better start accounting for special teams because they can't block anybody, so they'll be punting every possession, just for the record here. I am going to take a player who might be the second pick in the class. Arvell Reese, Ohio State linebacker, pass rusher, whatever you want to call him. So I now have Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles as the foundation of my defense. Reese, who had this incredible season in 2025, moving from primarily as a stand-up inside linebacker to primarily as an edge rusher, especially in the first half of the season. Now, he went without a sack during the final 6 games. It's worth noting, though, that Arvell Reese managed 6.5 sacks on just 97 pass rushing reps. He's a very efficient rusher. He just wasn't asked as much down the stretch to rush the passer compared to some of the other top pass rushers in this class. I like the versatility. I like the athleticism. I like the communication skills, the instincts. I'm a very versatile defense right now with Arvell Reese alongside Sonny Styles, and I'm very popular in the great state of Ohio. I'm about to become popular in the great city of Tuscaloosa, as we have been asking for all the past few months, who's quarterback 3 in this class? That, to me, would suggest that quarterbacks 1 and 2 are pretty valuable. So give me Ty Simpson here, coming off the board at pick number 13 overall.
Smart.
Ty, and I know Matt Miller is going to say that's a waste of a pick. Matt's wrong, but that's okay. But Ty's going to have to go at some point here, right? I think there's a chance. I think there's a strong chance Ty goes in the first round. I don't have the specific team or the area, but I do think that Ty is clearly the second best quarterback in this class. There's some things he did at the Alabama level last year that were pro level. He does a great job of maneuvering within the pocket. He's a good athlete, had a 77-yard rushing touchdown in 2024. He was lights out through the first 9 games of this past season. Obviously, things were not nearly as strong in the final 5 games. And he's only 211 pounds and just a tick over 6'1", but he is a very accurate quarterback when he has time and space to throw the football. I'm a believer that in the right spot, Ty Simpson can become a solid starting quarterback in the NFL. Very impressed with the football intellect as well. I'm good with him at number 13.
Okay, I like that. Let me do a quick thing here, and I'll narrate it for those who are listening. If you believe, because I follow all of your mock drafts, obviously, but these things are fluid. If you believe that when we get 2 weeks from now to Thursday night in Pittsburgh, if you believe Ty Simpson will be a first-round pick, when push comes to shove, goes in the first round, raise your hand. I just want to see. So Fields' hand is up. Mel's hand is. All the hands are up. Matt Miller, I just saw your mock where you have him going in the second round.
We're like watching The Voice right now. The Voice.
Yeah,
we're watching The Voice.
It's called peer pressure.
Yeah.
No, I do think that ultimately some team will do exactly what Field just did, and they're going to panic and they're going to draft because you have to have that quarterback. Wow. You have to have one, and I do think we'll see someone jump the gun, so to speak, and take the quarterback a little bit early. But I don't know who the team is, just like Field said. I don't know. It might be your Jets. It might be the Cardinals. It might be a surprise team. But I think ultimately someone panics and takes him on Thursday night.
To be clear, you're not talking about the Jets at 16, but the Jets may be packaging up what I believe is 33 and 44 and together and moving up late in that first round. Mel is shaking his head, nodding his head, I should say. So in agreement. And so at this point, the expectation of our top 4 draft analysts is that we will see 2, not 1 quarterback go in the first round in Pittsburgh in late April. All right, Jordyn, we're next to you. Ty Simpson off the board. Where are you going at number 14?
We're going to continue to build out our secondary, Greeny, and we went with Caleb Downs initially early on. We're going to stay in the secondary, we're going to go with LSU cornerback Mansour Delane. And I know this position is deep in the draft, but if I have an opportunity to get my top player at the position, I'm definitely going to do that. Just imagine the secondary adding both of these players in Downs and Delane. Delane was easily the best cornerback in college football a season ago after coming over from Virginia Tech. Didn't allow more than one catch in any single game this past season. I think he was absolutely phenomenal, whether it was the Florida game, the South Carolina game, any game that you can point to last year, you see number 4 making plays all over the field. He is a player that I think can be a blue chip type of player on the next level. We saw him run the 4.38 40-yard dash at the Pro Day. So this secondary we feel really good about, adding Caleb Downs and now Mansour Delane.
Okay, Mansour Delane is off the board. Yeah, it's a good pick. A good pick there by somebody, or by Jordan, I should say. I thought I heard someone wanted to jump in there. So Delane goes off the board, and let us move on then to Mel Kiper. You are next up at number 15.
Yeah, the safety position, Greeny. You talk about Caleb Downs, and I don't want to get stuck down the line worrying about safeties and corners too much here because we already had Delane go. Jordan just took him, and he always got Downs. I'm going to go Dylan Thieneman, safety from Oregon. All-around safety. Saw him at Purdue when he was a true freshman as an 18-year-old, making a ton of plays. Did it again at Purdue, then did it at Oregon. He is a kid ideally suited for anybody like from the Minnesota Vikings on down. We know he's a solid first-rounder. Tested off the charts. His versatility to line up any which way. Talk about the Swiss Army knives on offense. How about on defense as well with Dylan Thieneman. So when the game's played today, he's ideally suited for that. To me, I'm not going to get stuck looking for defensive backs down the road. I'll get a guy who is one of the top defensive backs in this draft, certainly the number 2 safety in this draft behind Caleb Downs. Dylan Thieneman, pick for me at this point in the draft.
Yeah, safety is in the family. His 2 older brothers were both safeties at Purdue, which is where he started, and then obviously finished up strong last year. All right, so we're going to reach the 16th pick here. I'm going to let everybody know how we're going to do. Matt has got back-to-back picks, but he's going to make the 16th pick. Then we're going to pause. We're going to just sort of take a look at where we stand right now, see how everyone is feeling at this stage of the draft, and then we will continue on. So, Matt Miller, the first of your back-to-back picks here at number 16. Where are we going to go?
Yeah, Greeny, this is tough because I have 3 players who are ranked number 1 at their position still on the board. And looking at positional value, which of those players do I want to try to get here? I'm going to go with Texas Tech pass rusher David Bailey, who led the SEC last year, 14.5 sacks, speed coming off the edge. I know the guys have teased me about my offensive line. There's really good depth at offensive tackle in this draft. I feel like I can wait to get an offensive lineman. What I can't wait for is to get a premier edge rusher. I'm not as high on Rueben Bain as others. So getting Bailey here, he's my number 6 overall player in the draft, my top pure edge rusher in this group. I have Arvell Reese as kind of a hybrid player. So having Bailey as the anchor for a defense, my first pick on defense, the top edge rusher in this class.
Okay. So David Bailey goes off the board. Most of the names we expect to be heard at the very beginning of this draft have been drafted. Again, there's such a different format here that it's not, no one should look at the order that we wind up putting together and say, oh, this is the way that we should expect it all to go on that Thursday night. So, okay, let's go over to the big board here. Mel, if I may apologize for stealing your phrase. You call it the big board. That was your original phrase. But let's take a look at where we stand right now. So the first pick in this draft was Fernando Mendoza. He went to Matt Miller. The second pick here was USC. This is Matt's selections. My bad. This is Matt Miller's group here. You took Mendoza, you took Makai Lemon, you took Carnell Tate, you took David Bailey. Matt Miller, how are you feeling at this point in the process?
Greeny, I feel great. I have the best quarterback, the 2 wide receivers, and the best pass rushers. This is a pretty good spot to be in after 4 rounds, and I'm excited to see where the rest of this draft goes. The board is really falling in an advantageous way when you already have your quarterback, your pass catchers, and your edge rusher on the team.
Mel, you went with explosive offense. Jeremiyah Love, Kenyon Sadiq, Jordyn Tyson, all on the offensive side, all big-time playmakers. And then Thieneman to anchor your secondary. How are you feeling at this stage, Mel Kiper?
I was feeling great until Matt took David Bailey. I thought I could steal him and really add to my great level of talent on this football team. But, hey, to get the guys that can change the scoreboard, I got scoreboard changers. And again, and a defensive back in Dylan Thieme, a safety who can prevent that from happening and make plays on the back end. So I'm feeling really good. Not an A+ because of Bailey and Matt. And I should take that pick away from you for being late anyway. Bailey should be mine. That might be, you have to forfeit that, give it to me after coming late to the party here today. But I'll let you slide on that one. I'll pick up the slack as we move forward and make up for that unfortunate pick that you made right in front of me.
Jordyn, Reid, Caleb Downs, Spencer Fano, Casey Concepcion, and then the corner Mansour Delane. How are you feeling about your squad right now?
We feel good, Greeny. We have a lot of different variety going on with our team. I feel good about Fano. He's a player that can come in and play right away along the interior at any spot. Honestly, all 5 across. Still have to find a quarterback. We have some time to do that. But overall, we feel really good about this group overall.
And then young fielding, as we look at your group here, Sonny Styles, Venga Ioane, Arvell Reese, and then the quarterback, Ty Simpson. Field, I think I comfortably speak for you as those who work on the draft telecasts. I would love it if the GMs actually did this. I'd love if after a couple of picks, we could stop down and ask Howie Roseman how he's feeling about his draft so far. Don't you think that would be fun?
It would be amazing, Greeny. I'm kind of feeling like the inverse of the Washington Wizards, right? We're about 40% of the way through this exercise, and I'm just going to give up because my team is so good. The Wizards gave up because their team is so bad. We can do the next 24 picks, no problem. But yes, congratulations on the other 3 guys on competing for second place in this here exercise.
Young fielding, talking trash. That's exactly the way we like it as we continue now. After a brief interlude, we pick it up at number 17. And again, Matt Miller with the second of his consecutive picks. Matt, which way do we go?
Greeny, I mentioned I have my number 1 player was available at a couple core positions. I took David Bailey off the board. There's still 2 left, trying to decide which direction to go. I think defensive back is the spot here. Jermod McCoy, the corner from Tennessee, who had that fantastic pro day just a couple weeks ago, putting him back atop the corner rankings. If you go back to 2024, I thought he was the best corner in college football. He would have been the first corner drafted in 2025. He has an unfortunate ACL injury January of last year. He's back healthy now. We saw that at the pro day. He has shutdown ability, 4 interceptions in 2024. He erased number 1 receivers as a sophomore in college. So I have David Bailey going to get the quarterback. I have Jermod McCoy shutting down the wide receivers in this draft, but I already took the 2 best receivers. So this is an easy job because the only guys that could challenge McCoy are on his team. Mel, I don't know what you're doing letting me pick all these great players, but I'm very, very happy about the team.
Before I get to Mel, young fielding, I know, has a thought on McCoy.
Yeah, so it's we're having this conversation, full disclosure, Monday, April 6th. A lot of teams will be having their final draft meetings, which will include the exhaustive medical meetings over either this week or next as they get ready to finalize their board. And I think Jermod McCoy might be one of the most critical players that's going to be discussed through that medical lens. You know, and just doing some research and talking to teams over this past weekend, all of us are excited about the 40 time from Jermod McCoy last week, the workout, the fact that he had his pro day and there were no hiccups during said pro day. I do get the sense from talking to teams that there are some that are still doing some research as to where that knee is at and whether there are any lingering questions with Jermod McCoy's knee going forward. We'll see, and we're 2.5 weeks from finding out as far as how it impacts, if at all, his draft stock. But I just wanted to mention, I think we have kind of accepted, or at least some in the public have accepted, hey, the pro day's over. This means the knee is all good. We're fully back. I'm in wait-and-see mode personally. I'm still kind of gathering more information on where teams are at on it.
All right, interesting point. He'll be a player to watch when we get to that opening Thursday night. Mel Kiper, you are next up at the number 18 pick in our mega mock.
Yeah, once Jordyn took Spencer Fano and said, hey, he's a guard, which we all think guard center, I'm going to go with a guy who gives me some scheme and position versatility here in CC, Francis Mauigoa, offensive tackle for Miami. Why? Because he can be a guard. So I got ability to take a tackle. I don't have to worry about any more guard situations here, reaching for a guard. CC Mauigoa will be my guard on this team if I have to. And I may be put in that position. So that's why I'm going to a guy who has that Spencer Fano type ability to play multiple positions. Certainly we're talking about Mauigoa at the right tackle. Then does he move to guard after a couple years in the league? We'll see, but he certainly could project as a pro bowler at that spot. Key entity, obviously, on that offensive line for Miami Hurricanes. So I'm getting out wide, helping that receiver on that bubble screen, make a play down the field and get that key first down. So for me, when you get a guy who played as consistently well as he did, keeping that that frame between the defensive end and the quarterback on a consistent basis, getting the ability to move that defensive end in the run game off the ball, I get a guy for this exercise gives me an opportunity to say, see Mauigoa, I'm going to get a tackle, and I got Mauigoa, so I got my tackle, I got my guard, and I got two of the best players on the offensive line. Yet I didn't have the early round picks to use on those guys. Yeah, I still got the best offensive lineman in the draft, arguably in Mauigoa. I'm going to get a pretty good one as well in the next couple picks here. So I'm going to fortify that offensive line so my game breakers, my touchdown makers have a chance to do their job.
Mauigoa projected in most of the mocks that you see somewhere in the top 10 picks, goes number 18 here to Mel. Jordyn, we're back to you for the 19th pick in our mega mock.
Yeah, Greeny, we're going to continue on the Miami train and continue to build out our defense as well. I'm going to go with Rueben Bain, the defensive end out of Miami. This is a player that I'm higher on than most people in our group. I just think he's such a clear evaluation as far as what he can be on the field. He's an A-plus run defender, another player that stood out throughout the duration of the college football playoff. Whenever they needed him to make a play, Rueben Bain showed up in big moments. And that happened throughout the season as well. It wasn't necessarily just in the college football playoff. And I get it. I get the arms are historically short with him. But I'm just going to trust the tape on this player. The player that he reminds me of is Brandon Graham whenever he was coming out. I think they are very similar players as far as somebody that can rush off of the edge consistently, but also in those sub packages and late down situations, you can kick him inside. He is a player that has very heavy hands. He's very twitchy coming off of the edge as well. So Rueben Bain, I'm going to add him to this great defense that we already have.
Some of the measurables or the question marks that you see there. The production, the tape, there are no questions about. Obviously, the measurables, I mean, some people live by those a little more than others, Jordyn. You're not one of those people.
No, I'm not. I mean, I get it. He's a historic outlier, but I'm just going to continue to trust what I've seen on tape with him, and he's a player that I just can't pass over at this point.
Okay, I like it.
Hey, Jordyn, if you need any help with a mascot for your team, it could be a T-Rex because every guy you've drafted has short arms. So
we're team trust the tape over here,
T-Rexes.
We're team trust the tape over here.
Oh, man.
Just checking.
I sit next to Rex Ryan 2 days a week. I can tell you right now, he would hate your team. He does not like anybody with short arms. All right, young Fielding, we are back to you for a pair of picks, 20 and 21.
Let's keep addressing our offense here. I said one of my last picks was Ty Simpson. That was actually my specific last pick, and part of the reason why was we've been asking ourselves, who is quarterback 3? A lot of ambiguity. Who's running back 3 in this class? We all know who running back 1 is. That's Jeremiyah Love. I will take his teammate in college, Jordyn Price, who is my clear-cut second running back, the only running back that I have even a top 50 grade on besides Jeremiyah Love. Heck, I think my running back 3 might be like squeezing towards 100 in my rankings. There is a big gap between Jordyn Price and Mike Washington Jr., who is my RB3. Price, who had this great season efficiency-wise last year, 13 total touchdowns, a weapon as a kick returner as well. I care about special teams. He could probably punt and return and take back all the punts from these other guys who will be punting every 4 downs, I guess. A big, powerful runner, just 6 catches last year. More to see or more to evaluate as a pass catcher from Jordyn Price, but part of the low production last year was, of course, Notre Dame throwing the football to Jeremiyah Love. And at pick 21, I'm going to grab my first pass catcher, that being Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver from Indiana. My apologies to Matt. I know he is the king of the Omar Cooper Jr. fan club. He was awesome this past season, 13 receiving touchdowns. He was Mr. Clutch for Indiana. Over half of his receiving yards came after the catch, so a lot of what he was doing this past year was setting up blocks, being patient, having good contact strength. He's a pretty instinctive player with the football in his hands as well. Strong hands, precise routes. Ty Simpson to Omar Cooper sounds pretty darn good to me.
It's the man that almost ended our friend Gus Johnson with that call, the stuff of legend in that game against Penn State. That's the moment that he became a household name and obviously had a great year. All right, Jordyn, we are back to you here for the 22nd pick.
Yeah, we're disappointed about Omar Cooper Jr. Field got me right there, but we're still going to go with receiver just because we need one at this point, and I'm going to go with Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington. Big ball winner on the outside, great hands. He's that dynamic guy that can go down the field. Also, I think he's a very underrated intermediate and short area route runner as well. Yes, the 40 at the Pro Day was debatable as far as what exactly he should run or should he have ran, but 11 touchdowns a season ago, 881 receiving yards. I like this player a lot more than most. I think you need that big ball winner on the outside. Really strong hands, and I think there's a lot of things that he can do for you schematically as well, just far as not just running down the field. He can open up some other things underneath and be that security blanket for your quarterback as well. So we're going to go with Denzel Boston to pair with Casey Concepcion. I think both of those players really feed off of each other really well.
Yeah, Denzel Boston. Mel, that's another one of those examples where obviously you would have scouted the father, right? You got the son in the draft, and you most certainly would have scouted the father.
Yeah, and guess what, Greeny? I'm sitting here. I'm pretty amazed because Fielding had his favorite player staring him right in the face.
Oh, okay.
And did you not take Monroe Freeling, your favorite player of young Fielding? Monroe Freeling.
Being generous today.
Am I mistaken here? Did I miss something? Am I not writing this down correctly, pal?
No, you know something, Mel? I wanted to make sure, in the interest of balance, I didn't take him in every mock draft, so he's all yours if you want him.
I want him. I'll take him in a second. You can give me CC Mauigoa and Monroe Freeling, who had a great year with Georgia Bulldogs. Only had a few starts going into the year. Became a heck of a player. And a guy that in pass protection was flawless. Run blocking needs to step it up a bit, but he's still a young, ascending player. If you could draw up the perfect left tackle in the NFL, it would be Monroe Freeling. With his kind of length and his feet, and his ability to translate into the NFL, as I can keep those edge rushers, those great 12, 15, 20 sack a year guys like Myles Garrett off the quarterback, it will be Monroe Freeling. Now, he'll have to be developed. The offensive line coaches are going to love to have him, develop him for a year, and then you got Pro Bowl year after year for Monroe Freeling. To get CC Mauigoa and Monroe Freeling in this draft, all I can say is to all the guys out there, thank you for allowing that to happen.
Wow. I would share, I mean, sitting here with you guys every week, I completely agree with you, Mel. I've been calling him Freeling Yates. I mean, that's how, that's, Mel, Field was the, yeah.
I just want to announce that if he does go top 10, and I don't know where the set that I'll be on is in relation to the ESPN set, I wouldn't rule anything out. If you see me shirtless, I would say crowd surfing the ESPN set if he goes top 10, Greeny. You know, police, security, just, you've been warned.
You got to come on and say something to Mel. You absolutely have to.
Why not, right?
In that opportunity. We will mention you one way or the other on our end for sure. All right, Matt Miller, we are back to you at 24 and 25 back-to-back.
Yeah, I'm upset because Kiper's been poking me all day with these picks. Maybe I showed up a little bit late today. I feel like that one, he knew where I was trying to go. So, Kiper, we're even. Call the truce. But I think the pressure's on now to figure out the offensive line. And I'm going to go with Field's other favorite offensive lineman, Kadyn Proctor from Alabama, the great pro day that he had. The conditioning concerns went away. He played himself into shape this year. I need a pass protector. I'm going to take Kadyn Proctor from Alabama with the first pick here. The upside is just too good. And I think that's the key here. It's the potential. It's the upside. It's what he could become in the pros. I'm a believer that he's a player with an arrow pointing up. We're seeing an ascending player, and that's rare for his movement ability, his power down the field. I've become a bigger fan over the last 2 months of thinking about where he could get as a player. So I'll take Kadyn Proctor as one of my offensive linemen. But here's the key. I'm going to put him at guard. Ooh. I'm going to put him on the inside because I think looking at where his strengths are, let's put this guy on the inside. Let him be a guard at the next level. And with my next pick, I'll take Blake Miller, the right tackle from Clemson, who started like a million games in college, and he has 34-inch arm length. So you have the experience and the ability right now of Blake Miller, plus the upside and the long-term potential of Kadyn Proctor. So my offensive line is solved with 2 first-round players.
I love how these guys have found loopholes. You figured out I'm taking tackles and making them interior linemen left and right. Can I ask one quick question just to circle back to Proctor? And Matt, I'll pose it to you because you're the one who made the pick. After the pro day, where he had such an extraordinarily good showing, Adam Schefter was on my show on Get Up the following day and said he thought, because we were all talking about Ty Simpson, obviously, because that's been the topic of conversation, that Proctor's stock could skyrocket as a result of his performance on that pro day. What does that mean? Like, just how early could he hear his name called when we get to the actual draft?
Well, Field was talking about, crowd surfing with Monroe Freeling in the top 10. I think Proctor could be that other player if he goes there. I mean, you have to start talking about it. Cleveland at 6, that left tackle is a huge question mark for them. So I think that's where the conversation at least starts for Kadyn Proctor. Now, the thing is, the range is huge because the tape was inconsistent. So the range for him is 6 to somewhere in the 20s, I think is reasonable to suggest right now.
Okay, I like it. I'd be fascinated to watch that one. Shefty really opened my eyes when he said that. Mel Kiper, we're back to you at number 26.
I'm going to take a guy who just plays so hard, and people will pick apart the fact, okay, does he have this, does he have that? He's got the one thing I like, the motor, and he's got the length, and he's got the ability to play the run and do all the things you want. He's right in Matt Miller's backyard, Zion Young from Missouri. Heck of a player. Damon Wilson, seconds down at Miami, replacing Bain and Mesidor, transferring from Missouri to Miami. I like Zion Young. Love the way he plays the game. I like the fact that he can do so much for you in terms of not just being a pet. You may not be a 15-sack-a-year, 12-sack-a-year guy. He'll get you 8 to 10, I believe, in the NFL, but he will never stop playing hard, hustles throughout the play, doesn't quit on anything, doesn't try to pace himself through the game. He will be a guy who will wear you out. If an offensive tackle has a lapse in concentration, Zion Young will get the best of that bookend in the NFL. Like I said, he'll handle the run very effectively, and he will be a guy who plays a long time in the NFL. Love the kid, love the way he plays, love how aggressive and tough he is. He plays like a Raven. I'll take Zion Young.
Youngest of 11 children in his family is the edge rusher Zion Young. Jordyn, we are back to you at number 27.
Yeah, the offensive tackle board is almost wiped clean here with the latest run there, but I'm going to go with Arizona State offensive tackle Max Iheanacho. And we're taking a bit of a roll of the dice here with him, and he's all upside. And if you just look at the tape against Texas Tech, I think he showed some really good things against David Bailey and Romello Height, who's probably going to be a mid-round selection in this year's draft. A player that was very late to football, didn't play it in high school at all, goes out to junior college, and he ends up picking up football out there. So we're going to bet on the upside here with Iheanacho. I think he's a player that can play either side of the line, either tackle spot, right tackle or left tackle. And I know he primarily played right tackle during his time at Arizona State, but really good athlete. I think he has strong hands. He's not going to be able to play right away, in my opinion. So if you have somebody in front of him, maybe a year or two from now, it wouldn't be shocking at all if we're talking about him as far as one of the better offensive tackles in this year's class.
Began his college career at junior college at East Los Angeles College, as you mentioned. He was late coming to football as he moved to this country when he was young and wound up now. Here he is on position to hear his name in the first round of the draft. All right, back to the curve in the snake. Field Yates, you've got 28 and 29.
All right, so at this point of the draft, you can certainly look at who still has to make what picks at what position. I have not yet taken a defensive back, and I'm going to start with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety from Toledo, 6'3" and a half at the combine. Didn't run a blazing 40 time, but he ran in the low 4.5s. And man, his production was so good this past season. He's got excellent range. He is a turnover-creating safety. He's a guy who stayed loyal to Toledo for 4 seasons. He could have certainly jumped and gotten a whole bunch of money to go elsewhere. Was big in a showcase game early last season. They played Kentucky in their first game of the season. Kentucky is not the cream of the SEC crop, but for Toledo, that's about as big of a game as it gets. He's a very forceful player. He had 6 pass breakups and 3 forced fumbles last year. You don't see that often from a safety. I think he goes somewhere in the first round. And then I am going to take, and I do have to take an offensive tackle still. I am going to take a guy who I think at times during this process I've maybe just overlooked because he's more steak than sizzle. It's Caleb Lomu, offensive tackle from Utah, who's just a rock-solid player. I think of him as a steady Eddie offensive tackle. Did not allow a single sack this past season. He played opposite of Spencer Fano, the best run-blocking offensive line in all of college football. Caleb Lomu anchored that left side. Steady, balanced, controlled striker in the running game. Needs to add a little bit more to his frame. Needs to become stronger through his core to handle these power rushers. But a guy who I think may not develop into a top 10 tackle in the NFL, but I think will be a long-time starter in the NFL if he lands in the right spot, which in this circumstance is Team Yates, a winning football franchise.
Okay, the 2 bookend tackles at Utah go off the board here with Fano going at number 6 and now Lomu at 29. Jordyn, back to you. You're next up here, the 30th pick in our Mega Mock.
Yeah, Greeny, we have not addressed the most important position on the field, and that is quarterback. So I'm going to take the next quarterback off of the board, which is the third in this exercise, and that will be Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. I think Garrett is going to be the third quarterback off of the board. It is between him and Carson Beck, which is the decision that we had to make here. But I'm going to go with Garrett Nussmeier just because what he showed in 2024, a lot of people thought that he potentially could be a first-round pick coming into this season if he showed some of the things that he showed during that season. But just a situation at LSU and a disappointing season for the Tigers did not result in that. But I just love the floor that Garrett Nussmeier sets. He is a willing thrower down the field. He loves to test those tight windows as well. And we're going to be running a Shanahan type of offense, which I think he is perfect in. So with Garrett Nussmeier, I think he is a player that, could end up developing into a starter. So I think he's a player that we're going to take here, and we're really happy about it.
This is, to me, one of the most interesting things about what we are doing here in this mega mock, because there is obviously no conceivable chance that we're going to have 4 quarterbacks go in the first 40 picks when we get to the actual draft. But everyone's got to take one. So we're going to find out who the top 4 quarterbacks off the board are. Mendoza and Simpson were predictable. Garrett Nussmeier goes next. There's still one more to come. Mel, you have the 31st pick in this draft. Where are we going next?
Well, there's one more to come, so I can wait on my quarterback till my final pick at 39, next to last pick in this exercise. But I'm going to take a guy who'd be the centerpiece of my defense. Super smart, intelligent. Character on a scale of 1 to 10 with this player is a 15. And, of course, he had the injury late, had that cleaned up. It's getting back to full strength, going to be ready to go. C.J. Allen, a tackling machine with the Georgia Bulldogs, 3-down linebacker. You have Zion Young up front playing hard, playing physical, okay? C.J. Allen coordinating that defense. Super diagnostic ability. Read reactability, outstanding for C.J. Allen. Full strength. He's running into 4.5s. He plays fast as well because he sees it so quickly, and he has that ability to not only be a guy that you can say, well, he's not an over. He's a guy who is an achiever. He's not an overachiever. He can run, and he's got range. And like I say, he's an every down linebacker. Steady, consistent, reliable football player. And like I said, the character that he brings to that football team, that culture that he'll bring to that locker room, practice field, just to that organization will be outstanding. Love C.J. Allen, off-ball linebacker from Georgia.
Okay, we're coming fast and furious here towards the end of our mega mock. We got some positions that need to be filled. Matt Miller, you got back-to-back picks at 32 and 33.
Yeah, Kiper sniped me again. So I'm having to recalibrate here a little bit and see which way I want to go. But I'm shocked to see one name on the board, and that's Akheem Mesidor, the pass rusher from Miami, who was all production for the Hurricanes. As great as Rueben Bain was this past year, it was the guy opposite him, oftentimes setting up the table for him to make plays, getting those splash plays in the backfield. So I need one more player on my defensive front. I'll be surprised if any of us take a defensive tackle, quite honestly. So getting another edge rusher opposite David Bailey, that is a lot of speed coming off, pinching off the edge of this defense. So to get Mesidor here, I think maybe some of the guys forgot that he was available because he should not have lasted this long. So I'm very happy to steal Mesidor here. That almost completes my defense. But one position that is really light in terms of depth this year is running back. The 2 Notre Dame backs are gone. Love went early. Price came off the board. Field mentioned it. There's a drop-off to the next running back. Well, imagine the drop-off from the 3rd running back to the 4th, because I think it's even bigger than from 2 to 3. So I'm going to take Mike Washington Jr. from Arkansas off the board here, a 233-pound back with 4.4 speed. He's a downhill runner, someone that is great in the play-action game. I think there's a lot of upside here as a receiver as well. When you have Fernando Mendoza and the great wide receivers that I have on the outside, it's going to be a lot of empty boxes for a running back of this size to just plow through, guys.
Okay, I like it. I was waiting to see when that would go. Mike Washington is off the board here as these guys are now all in their final few picks, finishing out, rounding out their rosters. Mel, we have a new nickname for you, by the way. Matt just made it. It is obviously Mel Sniper Kiper, with the way you've taken picks right in front of him all day long. Mel, where are you going at 34?
Yeah, I'll tell you, another running back I like, Emmett Johnson. Somebody's going to get a kid out of Nebraska on day 3. We're going to be talking about this kid's going to play in the NFL and going to help the team right away. But I'm going to go with a defensive back that I'm going to move up based on everything I've been watching of this kid. And I wouldn't say he's underrated, but he's going to zoom up to my CB3. when all is said and done. I'll just give you a little head start because we're going to tweak things. We always tweak our ratings. We have our final ratings coming out in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to go Chris Johnson, cornerback from San Diego State.
That's my guy.
The kind of size he has,
That's
the
my guy.
physicality. This kid was a complete player at San Diego State. Love his instincts, love his ball skills, love the fact he doesn't get handsy and grabby. Some of these others do. It got down to Avion Terrell from Clemson or Chris Johnson. But this kid, when you watch him, and I've been watching him for the last week and a half on a regular basis, what is there not to like? The ability to locate late in a route, get that head around, and make a play, to close quickly when he may be beaten, to be able to tackle, strip, do things there late in the route as well to break that pass up and tackle. I know how important it is to tackle. Can't play with 10 men on defense. You better be able to tackle. You got to be aggressive in run support. Chris Johnson will be that guy. This is one of those defensive backs, a cover corner that I wouldn't say got lost in the shuffle, but he's been under-publicized, hasn't been talked about enough. Because we're always talking about Brandon Cisse and Avion Terrell and Colton Hood and D'Angelo Pons, all good players. But Chris Johnson, for whatever reason, doesn't get enough attention. I'm going to give him that attention right here. I'm going Chris Johnson, cornerback, San Diego State, pair him with Dylan Thieneman, with C.J. Allen, with Zion Young. And I got weapons scoring points, lighting up the scoreboard, and nobody's touching my scoreboard with my players. And I still got to add the quarterback. It's going to be sitting there saying, hey, can you pick me, Mel? Because I'm going to be outstanding with the weapons you got me. So I'll wait on my quarterback till the next last pick. My job is done. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Game over. End of story.
By the way, like, you love instilling confidence in your quarterback.
Right.
Hey, we literally didn't take you until the final pick because we didn't think you were worthy of any pick prior to that. Nice confidence instilling from Kiper there. That cornerback 2 and 3 races, very interesting to me. Avion Terrell and the concerning pro day, and obviously the lingering hamstring injury. Colton Hood kind of up and down Senior Bowl week. That'll be very, very interesting to see how many of those guys end up sneaking into round 1. Perhaps an opportunity for Chris Johnson, as Mel just noted.
He had 2 pick sixes last year for San Diego State. Jordyn, your second to last pick at number 35.
I'm going to continue to add to this defense, Greeny, and I'm going to go with one of my favorite players in this year's draft class at linebacker. I am going to go with Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. And you talk about a lot of players that really stand out on tape. He is one that is making plays all over the place, and he's very instinctive, really good in pass coverage. I think this is one of the best stories in this year's draft class. You talk about a player 4 years ago that started his career as a quarterback at Virginia. He transitions over to the defensive side of the ball, and he becomes the hub of that Raiders defense. And you see everything on film with him. He's coming down, he's attacking, he's forcing fumbles. He had 7 forced fumbles a season ago, 4 interceptions, rare production at 128 total tackles. So we need that leader in the middle of our defense, and he tested very well as well. A lot of people didn't think he was an overly great athlete on tape, but I completely disagree with that. You see him moving all over the place and making plays all over the place as well. So I'm going to add him as the centerpiece of my defense, and I think he's going to be a very good starter on the next level.
Talk about much decorated. He was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He won the Bednarik, the Nagurski, the Lombardi, and the Butkus Awards. So, I mean, he was, at least by that standard, the best defensive player in college football last year. All right, Field, you have 2 picks in a row, and they're your final 2 picks of the day. Who have we got?
Yeah, and I'm committed, by the way, to a pass catcher, wide receiver, tight end, and then a defensive back, cornerback, safety. My first pick will be a wide receiver. I know Matt's a big fan of this player. I think we all kind of see him comparably. Just a solid second-round wide receiver, incredibly reliable, buttery smooth, versatile, not going to drop anything. It's Germie Bernard from Alabama, who led them in receptions each of the past 2 seasons. After transferring from Washington, he came with Kalen DeBoer, well-built. Again, he's never going to blow you away with the top-notch speed. He didn't have a single catch of at least 50 yards in his entire college career. I don't think I ever saw him drop a pass, though, either. Good in the red zone. Alabama deployed him very creatively, often playing him from the backfield and creating mismatches. He was excellent in the middle of the field. So my second wide receiver to go along with Omar Cooper Jr. is Germie Bernard. And then my last pick feels right to go a little bit of a wild card here. So I do have higher rated cornerbacks, and I mentioned how that cornerback race is pretty compelling to me. I think all of us, though, absolutely loved watching D'Angelo Pons play college football, right? His college career, of course, concluded with a national championship at Indiana. If he was 2 inches and 15 pounds larger, I think we'd be talking about him as a top 20 player in the class. I don't think that's that crazy of a statement. He is a diminutive cornerback, though, and yet it never stopped him at the collegiate level. Physical, had a pair of interceptions this past season. Obviously was tested because of Indiana's schedule in the playoffs. He played against big opportunities or big-time wide receivers and handled each of those opportunities, I thought, pretty darn well. Talked to people around the NFL. A lot think he's going to go in the second round. There are some who are dubious and think he might be more of a third-round pick because of the size. I think he sneaks into, or I think he finds his way into round 2, and he finds his way into my squad with my final pick.
All right, so Field Yates roster is complete as everyone makes their final picks here. Jordyn, you've got one left. What position do you need to fill?
Yeah, Greeny, we have a running back left here. And as I mentioned to Matt, we're team trust the tape here. We're not worried about measurables or what guys did at the pro day or the combine. So I am going to go with Washington running back Jonah Coleman, who I think is a very underrated player that is a bowling ball type of runner, has really good contact balance, and underrated pass catcher out of the backfield as well. Really good vision as well. And he's a player that really was the centerpiece of that Washington run game. Over 1,000 yards this past season, 17 total touchdowns, almost 5 yards per carry as well. So once again, staying true to team trust the tape here, we're going to go with Jonah Coleman to round out the first place team in this year's Mega Mock Draft without question.
37 career college touchdowns for Jonah Coleman. We know that Mel has to take a quarterback. So we saw Garrett Nussmeier be the third quarterback to go off the board. Who is going to be the fourth and your final pick, Mel?
There's a guy, every one of my picks is a first-round caliber player. Carson Beck a few years ago looked like a first-round caliber quarterback when he was with the Georgia Bulldogs. Now he ended up at Miami. I want the comfort level of Carson Beck to feel pretty good because I got CC Mauigoa, right, coming with the Hurricanes to my team. I got Monroe Freeling, former teammate, coming. I got C.J. Allen, former teammate of Carson Beck, coming. So I got him feeling really good. He's got the former Georgia Bulldogs with him. He's got C.C. Mauigoa, protect them on that offensive line. I got Carson Beck with 43 starts, 37 wins. You know, Makai completed a high percentage of his passes at both Georgia and Miami, right? Had the injury, surgery. Now he's back 100%. Lit it up in Miami this year. Got a lot of help. The offensive line, obviously Fletcher at running back, Tony catching the ball, and all the things that, like I said, they were able to do in terms of turnovers. Bottom line is Carson Beck is a veteran. People think he's 25. He's not. He's the same age as Ty Simpson. He's younger than Garrett Nussmeier, who's 24. He's only 23, Carson Beck. Just know she's 25. Not true. He's 23 years of age, played a ton of football, both at Georgia and Miami. Solid in both areas, at both schools for me. He's QB3. I know Garrett Nussmeier, Jordyn talked about his QB3. I think if you talked about it to people, you'll get as many people saying Carson Beck. So I have to round it out with the next to last pick. I am thrilled to get a guy who has Jeremiyah Love to hand it off to and throw to. He's got Jordyn Tyson to throw to and do all that stuff after the catch, downfield, whatever you want him to do. He's got a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, who's a weapon, and he's got Mauigoa and Freeling blocking for him. If I'm Carson Beck, I am a very happy young man right now with that supporting cast that I has assembled for him to continue it going, build on what you did at Miami, and have a heck of a career in the NFL.
Mel likes his squad. All right, the final pick of our Mega Mock belongs to Matt Miller. Matt, what position did you leave for last?
Oh, we saved the best for last. I appreciate you guys. I had to wait for a defensive back here, but that is, I think, one of the strengths of this class is the defensive back group, and I am shocked that Avion Terrell from Clemson is still on the board. I know the 40 time, the workouts wasn't great, but man, he is a dog playing corner. He can play inside, he could play outside. So tough and physical. We've seen what his brother AJ has meant to the Atlanta Falcons. I think he's gonna be a similar type guy in the pros. I talked to a scout a couple weeks ago that said, this is like a discount Trent McDuffie. This is somebody that could be that versatile, tough slot corner that can ultimately bump outside. Trent McDuffie was all pro in Kansas City and worth a first-round pick in the trade market. I don't think Terrell gets to that level, but I think he's going to be a dang good pro to round out a championship-winning team that I've built here today.
Okay, and so the exercise is complete. Our guys have put together their rosters. Let's go back to the big board here one more time.
I love this part.
And take a look at who everybody took. And Matt Miller, we will start with you. You had the first and the last pick in this Mega Mock draft, and we'll go through the roster here. You took Mendoza at your quarterback, Makai Lemon and Carnell Tate to be your receivers, then David Bailey to rush the passer, McCoy, Proctor, Blake Miller, Akheem Mesidor, Mike Washington Jr., Avion Terrell. So that's Matt Miller's squad. Next up here, as we go through them, see whose roster is up next, or we'd let Matt comment. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Mel Sniper Kiper stunned everyone. The man who has been telling America forever that you don't take a running back in the first round of the draft took Jeremiyah Love with the second pick, but we understand the thinking. Sadiq, he's got a great offense. Look at this: Jordyn Tyson, Thieneman, CC Mauigoa, Monroe Freeling's got the bookend tackles. Zion Young rushed the passer. You got C.J. Allen, Chris Johnson, Carson Beck. We continue running through the rosters here, and then we'll get everyone a final word from them. Jordan Reid, Caleb Downs. Then he took Fano and moved him inside. Casey Concepcion, Mansour Delane, Rueben Bain rushed the passer. Denzel Boston, Johanna Chor, Garrett Nussmeier, Jacob Rodriguez, and then rounded it off with Jonah Coleman, and then young Field Yates with the final roster of our group. He's got Sonny Stiles, he's got Ioane, the huge offensive guard from Penn State. Arvell Reese, Ty Simpson's his quarterback, Jadarian Price, Omar Cooper, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, Lomu on the bookend tackle, Germie Bernard, and D'Angelo Pond. So let's get final comment, if we can, from everybody. Again, Mel, as always, you get the honor of the first remarks. What are your final thoughts as we wrap up today's Mega Mock?
This exercise is about strategizing. That's what you have to do, and you got to try to figure it out. You got to read the minds of all your guys that you're working against in this exercise. I only had one missed opportunity. I think we got to feel pretty good that you end up this whole draft and you say there was one guy, one pick, and Matt Miller got David Bailey right before I would have taken David Bailey. After thinking I'll go Thieneman and then Bailey. Had I flipped it, maybe I could have gotten both. That was the one move that I kind of regretted a little bit. But hey, I love the players I got. I was able to recover, no problem. But Matt got me one time. Nobody else got me. And like I said, instead of an A+, I'll give it a almost plus.
Oh, man. God. Am I next, Greeny?
Yes.
I do like my team a lot. I feel really good about my defensive front seven. A pair of Buckeyes in Sonny Stiles and also Arvell Reese. Probably the area that I felt most vulnerable was my defensive backfield, my second pass catcher spot. We shall see there. I went with two guys that are not, at least not at the college level, like big vertical burners, and Omar Cooper and also Germie Bernard. I just wanted to offer that a couple of the most notable players, at least the highest graded players on my board that did not make the cut for any of us: Clemson defensive tackle Peter Woods, Ohio State defensive tackle Caden McDonald. So obviously there are going to be some guys that were on the outside looking in here. Those are the two names that caught my eye.
We had no defensive tackles get selected at all. They all got bunched together with the pass rushers, and that's where everybody went. Jordan, what's your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, we're feeling good, Greeny. All these guys like to get all cute, taking all these nice offensive weapons. We just saw what Seattle did to all those nice, cute offensive weapons in the Super Bowl. So we have Caleb Downs, we have Mansour Delane, we have Rueben Bain to get after the passer. That was our strategy to attack these offenses and build up our defense, just because defense wins championships. You guys can sell all these tickets, scoring all these points, but it doesn't matter if you can't score points against our defense. So our strategy was to build up that defense, and we're feeling really, really happy about how we came out of it. And you guys already mentioned it. I think with no defensive tackles taken in this draft, that's really how this draft may go, specifically in the first round. Peter Woods and Caleb Banks are your fringe first-round guys. Caden McDonald, can be thrown into that conversation as well. So a lot of teams don't feel really great about a first-round defensive tackle in this year's class, and that was a credit to, or the same thing happened in our Mega Mock draft as well.
Matt Miller, finish it up.
Yeah, I was wondering if the people watching and listening, or if any of you have any recommendations on where the guy should take me for my steak dinner, because I clearly won this. So, well, I don't know where we're celebrating in Pittsburgh. Drop some recommendations below, but I think it's very obvious that last year the vote was pretty close. I think it's incredibly obvious who won this year. I'm just going to take my victory lap here. So I know we're going to be busy in Pittsburgh. I don't want to interrupt the week with it, but this was fun as always. And it does. It makes you think about where the strengths of the draft class are. It makes you really think about the prospects and how they fit together. It's always a good time doing this.
So let us know.
None of you guys live in the land of pleasant living, so I'll invite you all down here for a few crab cakes, okay, and an orange crush this summer.
Orange crush, there we go.
No question who won this Super Bowl. So I don't want to hear any more about that. I will leave it up to the fans. If the fans had a vote, it would be a slam dunk. So you can all come to the land of pleasant living, to Kent Island, for some crab cakes, orange crushes, and I'll be taking you on a ride on the boat. It's not a yacht; it's a boat.
Wow.
Okay,
That's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing it's a yacht.
Yacht for others. Okay, like my good friend Steve Bisciotti, owner of the Baltimore Ravens, but I can take you on a little bit of a boat ride with my captain, my son-in-law Alex, leading the charge.
I'm hearing it.
The worst team always gets the first pick. Ooh. That's why Matt always gets the first pick. He's talking about he has the best team, but he gets the first pick every single year. In the NFL, there's not a draft lottery. There's not a draft lottery with this, Matt. It's the NFL.
Yeah.
NFL.
Wow. You hear the trash talk from our group. Let them know.
Next year for being late today, so he has no shot at Arch next year. That pick is already gone. It's been traded.
Let our guys know in the comments who you think has the best team. We want to hear from you. Who won this Mega Mock? As we are just 2 weeks away from the draft. Scan the QR code, like and subscribe to the podcast. Join us every Monday and Thursday for full draft analysis leading up to the big day. This has been a pleasure and a delight for Jordyn and Matt and Mel and Young Fielding. I am Greeny. Thanks so much for being with us. We hope you enjoy, and we'll see you next time on First Draft.